がいいと思うし。みんなといろんな写真撮っていけたらいいな。
But the true intention behind visualization or visualizing our desired outcome is we want to become familiar with that feeling of hope, that thought, cognitions, and thought process of hope. Those thoughts and those feelings of hopefulness will become more salient, will become more relevant, will become more familiar with our brain network, with our brains. So it's actually, in a way, biohacking to embody the future we want to live out of in the present tense. And that's extremely therapeutic. Hello friends, my name is Benoit Kim, a UPenn educated psychotherapist and your favorite yapper. Welcome to my detailed analysis of Bocchi the Rock episode 4. I can't wait to see how the blossoming friendship and band dynamic changes in today's episode and onward. Assassination Zero, Vinny, Greg Boyi, Fox Glowing Gaming, Crisco94, Jen Negre, and Wu Yixiang are the sponsor tier highlights of today's video. Shout out to your support. Sit back and I hope you enjoy. Oh, so good.
ダメね。いや、でも一応最後まで弾けてそこなんだけどね。はい。考え。もういっそボーカルだけの方がバンドのためなんじゃないかと思って。私オロオロしちゃいそうだし。いえ。
Her extroversion blinded Hitori. Literally, she's like, oh my gosh, your optimism, your extroversion is too much. Oh my gosh, it's too much. Two things I want to highlight aside from, again, that comedic gold. First, motor control, right? She said that if I were to focus all my motor control to playing the guitar, which she's just picking up, although I would argue she's come a long way since last episode. Motor control is obviously our ability to control our bodies and motor functioning. Definition right here. I highlight this because for every psychotherapist, we do our initial assessments, our intake in the beginning when we open up a new client based on their upbringing, circumstances, what are their goals? What are they here for? And one of the assessment we do for psycho, social, cultural, religious, and spiritual assessment, although it's in the beginning, it's biopsychosocial, right? Biology, psychology, and social, which is the environment. But we have become more comprehensive over time to address everyone's multifaceted needs. Part of the assessment, we ask, do you have any hearing impairments, visual impairments? Do you have any other disabilities or inconveniences physically or mentally? And motor impairments is one of the facets and areas we do ask about. And secondly is just her optimism. She's like, I don't want to be fidgeting in the interlude and in between. What do I do? So I guess ganbatte, 화이팅, 加油. I guess I'll just work harder so I can play and sing at the same time. We call that cognitive reframe. Definition right here. Reframing our cognitions, our thoughts. Reframing our beliefs that, oh, how can I possibly play the guitar and sing at the same time? It's just too much. It's like, not yet. But let us reframe that belief into, I guess I'll just have to put in more work. I got this. Ganbatte. That is what she's demonstrating. Amazing ability to turn, I guess, a weakness into strength by putting in the more effort. Because we can't control the outcome in our life because we're not gods. But we can always control the amount of efforts we are willing to put in. Beautiful, beautiful demonstration.
向上心パワー眩しすぎる。そうだ、後藤さんも一緒に歌って。
Oh.
無理です、絶対。でも、ごめんなさい、そんな嫌なのね。いいね。
Hitori, is her neck okay? I feel like she might need to go see a chiropractor or a physical therapist after this, whatever neck shaking she's doing. They're like, geez. Again, aside from the comedic portrayal, what Hitori is doing is, again, she has retracted or retreated into her internal reality, right? She's escaping because that proposal of, why don't we sing together, is so uncomfortable socially and causing such a discomfort that she's having spiral thinking again. Her anxiety is off the roof. And we're seeing her anxiety off the roof physically through this physical manifestation of shaking her head. She's still shaking.
しなくていいそんな練習。寮も来たし。
Until everyone came in, Hitori was still disconnect from her reality, because her head shaking like a disco ball. Her head shaking never stopped.
バンドミーティングを始めます。拍手。ズバリより一層バンドらしくなるには。
So aside from half-assed and I guess her best effort, right? What she's doing is she's setting the intention, because intention shapes reality. I'll say that again. Our intentionality, our intention to do something, drives our motivation for that behavior and action. So in that sense, our intention shapes the reality that is to come. So that's what she's doing. That this is a new band. They just formed this band's last episode. Very, very new. So it's like, how can we be intentional about our cohesion, our band dynamic, this new blossoming friendship that I talked about in the introduction? Remember, guys, we have to be intentional before we do something. And last thing, as you guys know, I like sprinkling fun facts, and I'm a big fan of neuroscience, and I do a lot of neuroscience related reading for my psychotherapeutic practice. According to the latest neuroscience, intention setting, definition right here, setting our intention before doing something increases the likelihood of us doing that action based on the intention we set by 70%. Let me say that again. For example, let's say I say tonight at 8 p.m., I'm going to study for my licensure board exam. By setting the intention to study tonight at 8 p.m. about what? Studying for the licensure board exam, or let's say reaching out to a friend that I haven't talked to. For Hitori's case, it could be every day at 6 o'clock, I'm going to say hi to one person. Every day at 2 o'clock at school, I'm going to say hi to a new classmate. We want to be very specific with the time and date, with the specific intention based on our goals and desires. By doing this specific intention setting, we increases the likelihood of us actually following through on that intention by 70%. That's unbelievable. And the reason for that is the underlying mechanism, neuroscience science mechanism, is one of our default brain network is we call that salient network. Definition right here. Salient network. Salient means relevant, what matters. So salient network is our brain default network where our brains go through all the things we want to do day to day. What is relevant, what is not relevant, what is salient, or what is not salient, right? For example, anytime you guys drive like a red car, or you guys notice a red car, how many of us can relate? We notice more red cars on the road. If you drive a Toyota, if you drive a Honda, we notice more Toyotas and Honda on the road. Same thing. That's salient network working. That's why whatever we think is relevant based on our subconscious becomes more conscious, and we become more conscientious of that. So it's the same mechanism. By priming ourselves, by training our brains that, hey, I'm going to set an intention about whatever we want to achieve based on our goals or even fears and discomfort. By us repeating by tonight at X, remember, specific time and specific action, we're going to share that with our salient network, with our brain network. And over time, we become more conscious of that intention. And that increases the likelihood of us doing that by 70%. I know that was kind of wordy, but neuroscience is very tricky and complex. And that's my best effort to try to distill it down for you guys. So my challenge to everyone that's watching, set a specific intention setting for today. Set a specific time and see if it's more likely for you to achieve that, and try it, repetition over time.
まずは4人でより一層バンドらしくなっていきたいなと。
Good point.
いろいろ話したりするのも大事かなって。
Yes.
もしかしてみじかちゃん、最のもありでしょう。ありですね。
Hitori says something very interesting. She's like, is she doing this to give Kita a break from her practice? Because I'm sure she's been putting in relentless work. And maybe it is like what Hitori said. That didn't even cross my mind. Maybe this is a very, I guess, non-judgmental and accepting way of saying, hey, why don't we take a break? That's very possible. But second thing is what the meeting is about. Having a great band performance, like she said, it's not just about practice. Yes, practice is the baseline. We have to starting with practice for sure. But there's team chemistry. Team chemistry creates team cohesion. And team cohesion influences the synergistic effect of how well they perform, not as solo players, lesson learned from episode 1 with Hitori, but as a group, as a collective. Team chemistry influences and dictates the performance outcome, whether it's sports or music. So that's what she's saying. That to be more band-like requires much more than just individual skill sets and practice. It requires team chemistry. And how do you increase team chemistry? By getting to know each other, by humanizing each other, and by increasing time they're spending together on a quality time. Whoa.
それただ結束バンド巻いてるだけじゃ可愛くない？
500? What?
それしか持たないでお金が。もしソスタとかやるなら私。
So far, their starting point to become more band-like is wearing merch, which is a zip tie, which is the name of their bands. I guess it's starting somewhere. It's not what I was expecting, but here we are.
来たら毎日更新しますね。あと1万円。そして高い。会員特典として。材料は貨物で。安い入ります。北ちゃんもメンバーだからね。考えてなかった。いや、なんか目がキラキラしてる。
So sparkling.
期待の目をされてる。なんか大丈夫。
Oh?
ぼっちちゃんにはオリジナルソングの作詞という重要任務があるから。
Oh.
前に決めたじゃん。りょうが作曲、ぼっちちゃんが作詞って。歌詞に禁句が多いならぼっちちゃんが
Ah.
頼むよりょう。それと作詞大臣。
Minister of
後
Lyrics.
藤さんすごいし。
かっこいい。
遊びしまえ。絶対ガチャいいですよ。後藤さんってすぐ調子乗っちゃうのね。らしい。
Hitori is in her fantasy lands once again. There's a few things I want to highlight aside from that very heartwarming conversations, them hanging out, spending quality time. And as you guys know, I've been beating down this dead horse of the importance of social relationships, but not just social relationships, meaningful social relationships. So I'm just going to keep beating that dead horse because it really is it's really important. Not only because the show is about social isolation and social anxiety, but because that's what the research says. We need to have a meaningful social relationships to thrive meaningfully. Full stop. A few things. So we saw that Hitori was being super anxious and scared about writing lyrics. But then, of course, the leader, the blonde-haired girl, was giving Hitori a way out, saying that, hey, you can sit this one out. Two things. One, yes, because they already discussed previously that Hitori will become the minister of lyrics. But of course, Hitori forgot. Because as we've seen so far in the last 4 episodes, or 3.5 episodes, Hitori often gets disconnected from this objective, shared, collective reality because of her social anxiety. But 2, the blonde girl was giving Hitori a way out because she saw her was being so viscerally uncomfortable once again. She saw that Hitori was about to retract into her internal reality once again because that has been established and has become like a hallmark of Hitori's social anxiety. So without judgment, in this very inclusive, welcoming, loving way, she's like, actually, Hitori, why don't you sit this one out? Why don't you go back to writing your lyrics? So those are the reasons, and it's very, very touching to see. But I just want to, again, emphasize the insidious and invisible struggle behind social anxiety. We saw that how much Hitori was struggling with just even participating and engaging in this group discussion. Mind you, Hitori already knows all the band members. She's already performed with them. She's already practiced with them. She's worked with them. So they already have some chemistry. They already know each other. They're not strangers. Nonetheless, Hitori continues to struggle with participating and engaging in this social interaction. That is one of the hallmarks and the invisible struggle behind social anxiety. Just because individuals who struggle with social anxiety already know people, already knows each other, that doesn't mean poof, their social anxiety dissipates and disappears. Everything's fine now. It's all rainbows and sunshine. Oh, because we know each other. Why are you being anxious? Why are you still struggling from social anxiety? Might be some of the thoughts that some viewers have. But remember, social anxiety is constant based on the spectrum like I talked about. And as we all have seen, Hitori's social anxiety is quite significant on the spectrum, right? That's why she will literally retract into her mind. She has overthinking, rumination, spiral thinking. We've seen her heart pounding through this animation, many traits. And this is the reason why many clients who came to me for social anxiety, they struggle to participate in classrooms. They couldn't even go to the professor's office hours. They couldn't even engage in group projects. So they'll get bad grades, even though they're smart, they're capable, they work hard, and they often know the answers to because they do the work, although invisibly to many people's eyes, just like Hitori. So once again, people with social anxiety or whatever labels people often attach them as, remember, diagnosis does not define who we are, and labels do not define who we are. We humans are larger than the sums of our parts. We are much more than what people view us as. So people with social anxiety are not weak or lazy or shy. It's an actual social anxiety. It's a phobia of social interaction. That's why Hitori was struggling so hard interacting. 1 week.
歌詞は一行も書けてないのにサインは完成してしまったこんなことしてる場合じゃないのに
Can anyone relate to when I was younger, although I never knew I was gonna be involved in social media, YouTube space, right? But as I was younger, I would just practice rigorously my signature in case I got famous. So I would just write signatures, just practice. Although, ironically, as I grew older, my signatures got worse and worse. It went from very elaborate, Benoit Kim, my full name, to just like chicken scratch, right? So sounds like that's what Hitori did. She mastered the signature of BOCCHI. And another fun fact, according to the way of thinking, creative thinking, and the science behind creativity, number one reason for a writer's block, definition right here, writer's block is when artists or musicians like Hitori or authors, when they struggle to keep writing. A blockage. Their writing process is blocked. Ergo, writer's block. According to the science and psychology behind creativity, number one reason for writer's block is self-editing. Definition right here. It's when we edit what we're writing grammatically, grammar structures. It's not poetic enough. It doesn't flow as well. We edit and modify what we're writing in real time. That's the number one reason for writer's block. But the flip side, a better way to ensure we minimize and we prevent writer's block is just free writing. Definition right here. Free flow writing or free writing. No editing. Don't care about grammar. Don't care about is it flowing well? Is it seamless? Is it poetic? Is it rhyming? Screw all that. Just keep writing until you finish the entire draft. And then you can begin the editing/modification process. But in the beginning, just keep writing. Every prolific writers and musicians say the same thing.
昨日も現実逃避して動画5時間も編集してしまったしよし私のバカゾウリムシ何書いてるの
Middle school.
ジュソ整理しようこの曲は北さんが歌う暗い歌詞だったらいくらでも書けるけどきた明るい人間になりきるんだ私は陽キャナイトプールでサーフィンする女
Queen of Wood. What's
バイブス上げてかお姉さんテキーラスイカって違うこれは明るい人じゃなくてただのパリピだ
One thing that Hitori is doing, again, through this comedic portrayal, is psychologically accurate. What she's doing is she's visualizing. Definition right here. Visualization. Visualization is a therapeutic technique and also something we use often in CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. Definition right here. Remember the CBT triangle, right? Our thoughts influence our feelings and our feelings influence our behaviors, and or our behaviors can influence our feelings and our feelings influence our thoughts. It goes both ways. That's why it's a triangle. You can start from any intersection. Cognitive behavior therapy. So we often ask our clients who are dealing with depressions or anxiety or anything in between, we ask them to close their eyes and visualize a happy place or visualize who they want to become or living out their aspirations and goals and dreams. So for example, let's say a parent comes to me because they're involved in like family and children services in California, DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services. And let's say their children are taken away from the parents because they're struggling with poverty, unemployment, and maybe some mental health struggle. Not that they're bad parents, but because they're unable to take care of their children at this time, right? It's not mutually exclusive and it's not always the same. We never want to judge before knowing the full context and the full background story. So let's say a parent comes to me for that reason. Then I would ask them to visualize what would it feel like and what would it look like to be reunited with your children after winning your DCFS case? What would it look like to prove your capacity and capability as a parent? What would it look like to have a job again? What would it look like and feel like to no longer struggle from poverty so you become the best parents for your children as possible? Visualization. It's not necessarily escaping from reality when we visualize, when approached clinically and appropriately, because some people do use visualization to escape, which is what Hitori kind of did right here. But the true intention behind visualization or visualizing our desired outcome is we want to become familiar with that feeling of hope, that thought, cognitions, and thought process of hope. In other words, going back to my concepts earlier, salient network, we want to make that feeling of hopefulness and that thought of hopefulness by visualizing our desired reality. Those thoughts and those feelings of hopefulness will become more salient, will become more relevant, will become more familiar with our brain network, with our brains. So it's actually, in a way, biohacking to embody the future we want to live out of in the present tense. And that's extremely therapeutic. So that's what Hitori did.
ダメ北さんになりきろうじゃあ渋谷行く人この指とここは有名なイソスタ映えスポットすごい花火が打ち上がるからみんなで写真を撮ろう
The younger sister and Shiba and the families who are watching Hitori, they're probably thinking like, oh my gosh, does Hitori suffer from DID? Dissociative identity disorder, definition right here, DID. I talked about this in my Death Note series and other series before, but DID, dissociative identity disorder, or formerly known as multi-personality disorder, right? The movie Split is a fairly good, not accurate, but fairly decent portrayal of people who struggle with dissociative identity disorder. And every personality within DID, or formerly known as multi-personality disorder, are very distinct and unique. But you're not living out two different personalities at the same time. There's like a specific thought pattern, personality, behaviors. It's almost like a switch on and off button, although it's not clinically accurate, but that's the best way I can describe it. So I feel like the families are thinking like, oh my gosh, how many personalities does Hitori have? Who is she? Who has she become? Again, obviously she doesn't have DID whatsoever, but I just wanted to share some clinical knowledge based on what the families might view her as if they had that clinical knowledge background. I know an exorcism if you need one. Yo, instead of DID suspicion, they went to the other extreme, demonic possession. Oh, I almost choked on my water, dude. I did not expect that. Wow. No peeking.
本当は無責任に現状を肯定する歌詞はあまり好きじゃないんだけど。
Is being in a closet enclosed space with no outside judgments, I guess that's like Hitori's place to shine. That's like her emotional safety. That's like her harbor of safety. She feels safe physically, emotionally, and psychologically. So hopefully she can shine lyrically and creatively with her music writing in this little box. Writer's block. She's judging herself. She's self-editing in her mind versus just let it out. Just free streams of consciousness, like I talked about. Nice. Believe in yourself. Ganbatte. You got this. One more thing. Hitori just said something really, really deep that you might have missed out on. She said that anyone that's depressed, if they were to listen to the status quo affirming, very positive songs, they will fall deeper into despair. That's very, very accurate. The reason why a lot of people who struggle with depression, remember, you are not depression. You are not anxiety. Your mental health conditions, whatever you're suffering with right now, does not define who you are. We are not depressed. We are not anxious. We struggle with depression. We struggle with anxiety, but our anxiety and depressions are not who we are. Our conditions do not define who we are. Full stop. At the same time, people who struggle with depression, if they were to listen to really uppity, optimistic, cheerful, hopeful songs, it can feel very invalidating for them because that is not their realities. That is not what they're experiencing. That is not their truth. So people who are depressed and people who struggle with depression can feel more struggle with depression if they listen to something that's completely opposite, some lyrics and song that they cannot relate whatsoever. Remember, guys, music is powerful and music is an amazing bridge because it makes us relate to the artist or the songs that's being sung. Music, part of the music superpower is relatability. And for the fans to enjoy the music, part of us have to feel drawn and relate to the music. So Hitori says something really, really deep. What happens? Oh, it's the due date. Again, Hitori's projecting, right? That's projection definition right here, which is one of the defensive mechanisms. And defensive mechanisms are not good or bad. It's just a way for many people to cope, to survive out of their anxiety, depressions, their negativity thoughts. So it's not good or bad. It's just what people do. So what Hitori is doing, she's projecting what she feels in the inside, her own judgment, her inner criticism, by projecting onto the rest of the band members, saying that, I'm so sorry. Isn't this intervention because I failed my job as the minister of lyrics? They're like, what? That's so perversive. No, this is probably just a hangout. Remember, guys, the more insecurities and the more judgments we will deal with internally, the more we project externally onto other people. And that will skew and change and distort perceptions. And that will cause miscommunication and often breakdown of relationships. To hang out. What? Nice. Yeah. Oh, promotional photos. What? Pro photo. Nice. Can someone ask Hitori to take off that freaking sign? Jeez. True. 頑張って。ライブハウスのサイト告知や
しないとだそうだ。
I just want to quickly talk about that pause scene with Yo standing in the background, all black. Dude, her charisma, like, I see why Nika-chan is so into Yo. She doesn't speak much, but when she speaks, there's a volume. She doesn't always contribute or participate in conversations, but just by being there, just by existing, she exudes charisma and she's just so cool. I do want to talk about that though, because I know many people who are anxious, are people who struggle with anxiety, who struggle with anxiousness, especially social anxiety situations. They overcompensate, which is another defensive mechanism. They overcompensate by trying to fill in the space because they're so uncomfortable and awkward with silence, this in-between moments. So they feel they need to always be talking, fill in the space. Kind of like what I'm doing right now. But obviously I'm doing this for content reasons. And that actually becomes burdensome to both parties. That becomes burdensome and even annoying to everyone else. They're like, why is that person always yapping? Why are they always talking about nothing? Bro or dude, girl, you don't always have to be talking. You can also listen. Of course, a yapping out of anxiousness is different, very different from yapping just because they're yapping, just talking about a bunch of nothingness, right? So, but then also the second burden is the person who's struggling with anxiety or social anxiety, like I talked about. They're extremely exhausted and fatigued and they drain after they go home because they were talking constantly. They were already drained from their social and emotional energies and batteries, but because of their overcompensation, they drain even more. And their emotional battery and their social battery becomes completely drained. So it's like a lose-lose situation. And that's why I want to talk about Yo. She doesn't always talk much. She loves being in solitude. She truly is like a cool a loner, not in terms of loneliness, but who enjoys aloneness. Loneliness and aloneness are very different, like I talked about throughout the series. She's just there. She doesn't feel the need. She's not insecure. She's not anxious to fill in the space. And here's my encouragement to everyone that may be struggling with social anxiety or some sort of anxiety that I just talked about. It's okay just to be yourself. If people are going to accept you and like you for who you are, not who you pretending to be, then whether you're quiet or more silent or talk less, they're going to accept you and like you for who you are anyway. And a lot of these judgments of, oh, if I'm not filling the space, if I'm not constantly yapping or talking, what if they reject me? What if they don't like me? Those are our inner judgments projecting once again. People aren't thinking about you. Most people are selfish and most people are self-centered, full stop. So most of their thoughts are centered about themselves, not about anyone else. And that is a good thing. That's the beauty, that you can truly be yourself. Otherwise, even if you fake it, even if you're fronting, even if you're pretending to be a social butterfly, if you're pretending to be talking all the time, even if people accept you, they're not accepting you for who you are. They're not accepting your authentic selves, but rather they're accepting a fake version of you. And that fake acceptance and acceptance of fake version of you will never lead to meaningful social relationships. Period. So be yourself.
覚悟？よーし、アーシャ撮影の旅にレッツラゴー。
Ah.
アーシャで定番どころはこんなところかな。あと良さげな壁。
Evocative wall.
今日楽器持ってくればよかったわね。ああ、確かに。
That's
楽器
true.
持ってた方がさらにか。
True.
もうかわいそうなことになるんだよ。手に持つのはドラムスティックだけだよ。
That's true.
かわいいじゃん。じゃあ今日だけ楽器交換し。ここならどうです？よくないですか？たくさんポスターとか貼ってあって下北沢らしいというか。
That's a vibe. I like that.
そこ
Retro, very
前まで
retro
よく行
vibe.
ってた CD ショップだった。
Full circle.
レコードショップもライブハウスもどんどんなくなるね。
Yeah, COVID was rough.
昔ながらの店がどんどん消えていく。
Yeah.
なんだかごめんなさい。りょう新しい本屋できて喜んでたじゃん。うん、 B&C 好き。北ちゃん、寮に振り回されすぎないようにね。その場のノリで話してること9割だから。でも先輩にならむしろ振り回されたい。
What kind of fantasy is that?
あっちに多分ですけど良さげな感じの壁が。おお、でかした。
Oh, nice. Tree of life.
バンド感がバンドっぽさを感じる要素が欲しいな。バンドマン。でも先輩の言う通り。
Yo gets all that confidence because she has very high self-esteem, because she comes from a very secure attachment style, aka her families are not just affluent. They also treated her with emotional compassion, mental compassion, right? We can, like I said, it was never revealed, but clinically it's very obvious. People like Yo can only be so comfortable with their own skin, with who they are, their sense of self, if they come from a loving and secure family. That's why Yo is so confident, and she doesn't really care what other people think about her, because at the end of the day, her parents love her, and she loves herself. The power of self-acceptance, power of self-compassion, and the power and the beauty of self-love.
すれば間違いなんてないですよ。ね、わかったよ。なんかおつやみたい。
Yeah, what kind of eyes are those?
してもそんなことないですよ。
My prediction is the jumping girls, which is the title of this episode, is maybe they're going to do some sort of a jumping pose for their pro photo. Hara. Uh-oh.
だって友達いなかったから。
Oh, is that out of joy?
15年生きてきた証がそれしかないのです。
Hitori is literally convulsing. She's having a seizure, dude. Like she says, probably out of joy. She's like over the moon, aka her dopamine, adrenaline is like off the roof. And after the adrenaline spike comes the adrenaline crash. And we could become extremely drained after like a full day of activities, even good or bad, right? Because everyone has a finite amount of reservoir for adrenaline and dopamine, right? That's why if we use substances or drugs, we'll hit that spike, we'll hit that peak really fast, but it's going to drain us really fast because it's synthetic, it's artificial, it's not real. So I'm guessing Hitori's having a seizure or convulsion because two things: her social and emotional battery is off the roof and she's depleted because she's taking so many photos with friends for the first time. So having so many first experiences, even its amazing experiences, is very draining. That's one. And two is because she is so over the moon. She's so happy. She's so ecstatic that she's having such a meaningful engagements and participating in such a meaningful activities of taking pro photos, promo photos with her new friends and her new bands. Rare species?
私が下北沢の土の子です。のこのこ、ぼっちちゃんもイソスタ始めてみたら？ねえ、大臣もそう思うでしょ？ぜひ友達になりましょう。バンド活動していくならメンバー個人のアカウント。
That's literally Hitori like glitching in her brain. Her brain is having like a mental breakdown, so to speak, in a comical way because she's like cognitive overloaded. Definition here, cognitive overload. That's when we have so many things going on that our brain and our cognitions and our thinking process is going overload. So she's like literally glitching, having like a blue screens of death because it's like so much overload of, oh my gosh, starting my own Instagram. Oh my gosh, becoming friends on Instagram. Oh my gosh, we're doing all those promo photos. So her brain is glitching.
私がアカウントなんて思ったら人間なのに、そんな私がそんなもの
Whoa. Birth of what? Dinosaur? Attention horror monster.
私には動画サイトだけあればいい。
The editing is amazing for this anime. Animation's nuts. Hitori is completely disconnected from her reality into her internal La La Land once again. One thing that I do want to shout out and really give as many digital flowers to Hitori as possible is her self-awareness is exceptional. She knows herself so exceptionally well. That's amazing. It's self-awareness is a superpower. Full stop. What do I mean by that? Hitori said, for a person like her, who's socially inept, even though that's a strong word, inept or ineptness means inadequacy. It's just a SAT fancier word for inadequacy. She's like a person like me who struggles with social ineptness. If she were to create a social media account, she would become a attention whore monster. By like my post, dopamine hits, right? Give me all the dopamine. Every time you like my post, my self-esteem boosts. I feel better about myself. But remember, all those are artificial. Yes, it's real, but it's not meaningful because it doesn't always translate to real life. Her actual sense of self, her actual sense of self-esteem. Because self-esteem is how we view ourselves, not how we view ourselves based on how other people like our posts, how other people talk about us, how other people perceive us to be. Yes, that's part of self-esteem, but it's not long-lasting. It's superficial. The true deep-seated self-esteem is our perception of ourselves, independent and separate from how other people view us, like Yo. Yo is a perfect demonstration of true, deep-seated and stable self-esteem. And that's what Hitori is saying, that if I were to get a social media account, that I'm gonna lose who I am and lose my sense of self in the gluttony, in the lustful desire of social media likes, dopamine spikes, and so on. That's why she's saying that I don't want to become an attention whore monster, using her words. And that's why she literally disconnected from her reality. Because although she knows if she were to do that, it will make her feel better about herself temporarily, but it's superficial. It's not long lasting. That's why she doesn't want to do it. She's like, my YouTube site is all I need. And obviously her band is seeing her completely disconnected from the reality, is like, hey, come back to us, right? Because what Hitori is doing is disassociation, definition right here, disassociative states, which is actually a form of trauma response. A lot of people with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, deal with disassociation because the reality is too painful, so they disassociate from their discomfort. That's what Hitori did in a comical way.
じゃあ写撮影再開ね。なかなかいいの決まんないね。あ、ジャンプとかどうですか？
Called it. Jump pick. Let's go.
なの素の感じでそうですけど。
True.
これいい。北ちゃん天才。有識者が言っていた。オープニングでジャンプするアニメは神アニメと。え？会社でジャンプすれば神バンドになるのでは？
What?
何がつまりなんだろう。全然
Yeah,
意味わかんないんだけど。とりあえずやってみよう。とんでもない写真撮れちゃったな。無価値なものを。もっと可愛い反応を期待してたの。
Something so useless like her picture with her undies. I am dead. You got this,
もう
Bochi.
一回いくよ。いいね。バンド感に青春っぽさがプラスされたね。
Nice.
写真のデータ。
Did you see how purple Hitori's face was in the picture? Remember what Kita-chan said? Jumping picture might be a great way for us to summon and represent our personalities. With that picture, we saw Yo, so cool, so charismatic, so nonchalant, as the kids call it nowadays. Kita-chan, so bubbly, extroverted, right? So optimistic. And the blonde hair girl, she had a little blush because that's how she is. Very heartwarming. And she's like the bridge that connects everyone else. And I know, guys, I know I'm keep forgetting names because I'm recording this like once a week. So please bear with me.
バンドらしくなってきた。
Yeah.
人気バンドへの夢にまた一歩近づいたね。
God tier bands. Pending. Kesoku?
夏にライブ
Zip
カ
tie
ッコ未定とデモ CD 配布カッコ未定して
TBD
冬にファーストアルバムリリースカッコ未
TBD
定下北沢発祥
TBD.
情報が何一つないですね。作詞のことすっかり忘れてた。まあここはりょう
Back
と
to
ぼっちちゃん
reality.
に頑張っていただいて俺だからじゃあ今日はありがとね。解散。
Do you guys know what Irish exit is? Definition right here. Irish exit. It's like when you're at a social event hangout, you just exit. You just leave without saying goodbye. Irish exit. Is Yo known for Irish exits? Does she do that a lot? Just disappear? Such a free spirit. I agree. Like I said, her self-esteem is so high. She doesn't really care what people think. And she knows she's accepted unconditionally. She's beloved unconditionally by her friends. That she can truly be her authentic self. Yo is the representation of, yes, free spirits, but also the beauty and what could happen beautifully if you're truly being your authentic selves. Of course, yes, everyone's different, case by case. But Yo, you're awesome.
時間が経てば経つほど歌詞のハードルが上がっていく気がする。これ見せて冷たい反応されたら
No, they're not going to be mean to you.
励まされたりとかした
Self-judgment.
ら私一旦誰かに見せて様子を見よう。りょうさんかな。りょうさん木とか使わなそうだし。あ、もう既読ついた。
Look at the way that Hitori's messaging. I know they're using line messaging. Yo, it's a pleasure to make contact with you. Yo, or Hitori, you're not talking to a professor. It's a pleasure to make contact with you. Is that just Hitori's social anxiety manifesting, or is that how formal people are supposed to talk until they become really good friends? Can someone share some helpful Japanese context? Because I'm not really sure if that's your social anxiety or is that an expected cultural norm that even new acquaintances, new friends are supposed to text in such a formal format? Huh?
おしゃれカフェ。
Oh. La
完
chic.
食なんて一度も一人でしたことない。
Cafe is literally called La
みん
chic.
なって
It's
それなり
chic.
に気
La
合い入れ
chic.
ないと入れないのにいきなり入っていいのかな。どうやって入るんだっけ。ドラマとかでどうしてた。
What?
あ、確か。あ、へい、大丈夫。
Oh, it's hilarious. It's heartbreaking. Hitori has never stepped inside of a cafe or any restaurant establishment in the last 5 years or however long. She doesn't even know how to walk in. Remember, guys, social anxiety truly an invisible struggle.
やってる。
Are y'all winning, diners? What up? Is everyone winning? What up? What's good, everyone? Is everyone winners here? What up, winners? Hilarious. And they're sitting next to each other, not in front of each other. I'm dead.
いまいちどういう人か知らないし、というか。
Hitori is experiencing a lot of first, a lot of meaningful first time. That's what Hitori is experiencing. Again, she's going from a caterpillar into a cocoon phase, but now I think she is in a cocoon phase. You can see her trying to break out of the cocoon to become a butterfly. The more meaningful first experiences we acquire and we go through, the more comfortable we become with being uncomfortable. We want to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's what Hitori is going through. She's going through a metamorphosis stage.
なんで全然喋ってくれないんだろう。ごちそう。のかな。でもさっきの撮影楽しかったですね。別に。決まるかもしれないし。
She's disconnecting again. Hitori is disconnected from reality once again. Aww, Yo is so calm, so chill. Nice.
お願いします。拝読いたす。珍しくうろたえてる。これでいいんだ。
Oh?
よくはないけどバンドのことを考えると、はい、傑作です。
Hmm?
個人的にこのサインはロックバンドにしては子供の気がする。そのページじゃないです。
She was looking at the signature. I'm dead.
墓地的にはこの歌詞で満足？
I know I'm pausing a lot because, like I said, pausing helps with copyright, but also, guys, the show has so much psychological content. It is unbelievable. Do you guys see what Ryo did? Before giving any feedback, before giving any criticism, before giving any input, Ryo did what a lot of psychotherapists and great mentors do, leading with curiosity and leading with questions. Non-judgmental curiosity is what it's called. Ryo said, "Are you personally satisfied with these lyrics, Bocchi-chan?" Instead of, again, starting with her input, she's asking, what is your own thoughts? What is your own input about these lyrics? That's an amazing, amazing way of approaching any, I guess, creative process or any feedback session. Always lead with curiosity. Always lead with non-judgments. Because remember, review session and feedback session is not for the sake of our own ego. It's not to make ourselves feel better and bigger, but rather is to make the other person better based on what their goals are.
ヒットしたバンドらしいのがいいのかなと。
Yeah, it's not authentic, I could tell.
言ったっけ？私昔は別のバンドにいたんだ。そのバンドの青臭いけどまっすぐな歌詞が好きだったんだ。
Honesty,
でも売れ
authenticity.
るために必死になってどんどん歌詞を売れ線にして、それ
Ah.
が嫌になったからやめたんだ。
Hmm.
やめる時もちょっと揉めたりして、バンドそのものが嫌になってた頃。
Gotti, who does that still? I still do that with my friends and my family members.
ねえ、暇ならベースやって。なんで？だって私、寮のベース好きだし。
Aww.
そうにじかに言われて、もう一度バンドやってみようかなって。個性捨てたら死んでるのと一緒だよ。
Bars. Giving up your authenticity and your honest self is equivalent to dying. Like I said throughout, Ryo is the embodiment and the symbolic representation of uncompromising authenticity. She will do whatever it takes to make sure she's authentic. She's herself. And remember, she loves herself. She accepts herself. She has very high self-esteem because she loves who she is. So if you love who you are, why would you ever betray yourself by being fake, by being inauthentic? That is what Ryo is trying to teach and tell Hitori. That is her feedback. But there's no yelling. There's no criticism. There's no judgments. Why are you being so fake, Hitori? Why are you trying to be more commercial? This is not you. Are you satisfied? No. Ryo is not doing any of that. But rather, she's leading with curiosity like I talked about. And she's sharing authentically and honestly about her stories. Ryo is like, hey, here's my truth. I was in a band before, but I left because I didn't want to betray who I am. Music needs to be authentic. And I hope you do not make the same mistake as my previous band did. Because I will not stay in this band if this band becomes fake and pretentious and inauthentic for the sake of sales. No feedback, no criticism, but just honest thoughts and stories and Ryo's truth. Ryo is simply sharing her truth with Hitori. And I'm sure this will be extremely resonating and make an amazing impact for Hitori. And I'm sure Hitori will ride on this momentum of authentic feedback and honesty and create amazing, amazing songs that feel authentic and true to Hitori. And in turn, feels authentic and real to everyone else.
だから、いろいろ考えてつまんない歌詞書かないでいいから、
Yep,
ぼっちの好きなように書いてよ。
Exactly. You're the minister of lyrics,
けど
Hitori.
そうするとネクラでどんよりな歌詞が。でもそれリア10個に歌わせたら面白くない？
Ah.
毎日一人呪っていくね。バラバラな個性が集まって一つの音楽になって、それが結束バンドの色になるんだから。りょうさんちゃんとした人だったんだ。そろそろ出よう。
Aww. That's the true meaning of kesoku, right? A zip tie. What is a zip tie? It's a circle. It's a circular motion because it unites everyone that is different. That's why it's a zip tie. Beautiful. True essence of kesoku. Thank you.
お会計
Oh.
ごめん今お金ないからでもしか食べてなくて限界でまだ野草生活をそれにこの店オープンしてばっかりだしどうしても食べたくて
I'm dead.
ますあいつでも大丈夫なの
I am dead.
あの
Thank you for the
私
feedback.
頑張ります
Kanbarimasu. Try your best.
じゃあ楽しみにしてるよ
Jada. Trying our best is all we can do. Full stop. Nice. Great feedback.
家事できたんですけど
Let's go.
どうぞ
Dang, she's been
お父
pulling
さん
all-nighters.
目のクマ大丈夫寝るの忘れたりして
Wow. She forgot to sleep, which means she entered her flow state, a zone of ultimate focus where time melts away, you forget to eat, sleep, you're absolute in a tunnel vision. Flow state. I talked about that in earlier series.
どれどれぼっちちゃんの力作拝見しましょう
They're gonna love it.
暗すぎるかも
They're gonna love it.
確かに暗いねりょう先輩
But it's
で
authentic.
もぼっちらしい
Yeah.
少ないかもしれないけど誰かに
Yeah. Yes. I got goosebumps.
急に仲良くなってるの私ここのフレーズ好きです私も
See, it's resonating. Last thing I'll say is I would personally choose depth over width. Either it's the things I do in life or the friends I have or the events I go to. Right? I don't do too many things. I do my psychotherapeutic stuff as a psychotherapist. I have a YouTube channel based on this educational content that I do based on my interest in anime. And I read a lot because obviously research is always updating. So I want to become the most competent professional as I can. And of course, I'm a full-time cat parent, full-time husband, and so on. But in terms of professionally, I only do two things: YouTube, reaction, and my clinical practice. That's it. And friends, I'd rather deepen my meaningful friendships than making a lot of new party friends or social friends just for the sake of. Also, it's my age, my chapter in life. So my question to everyone is, what would you guys prefer? Do you also prefer in-depth, increasing the depth of your meaningful participations and friendships? Or would you rather widen your social circle and widen the things you do based on your hobbies, interests, and goals? There's no judgments. Everyone is different. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
歌詞もなんとか形になった
Good job. Next episode is gonna slap. Aww.
バンドがずっ
It's
と
a great
続いて
photo. Great pro
これか
photo.
らもみんなといろんな写真撮っていけ
Yeah.
たらいいな
Wow, amazing. Enough said. As always, if you enjoy my analysis, make sure you're subscribed. Double check. Because otherwise, you might miss out on my next videos. And before you leave, do me one favor. Leave a comment about something you're taking away or you learn from this episode. I will happily follow up and share more other helpful and informative information as they fit. And as always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Shout out to the best patron family and YouTube members to our growing community. Till next time, peace.